Welcome to another episode of Victoria's Lounge from State House Girls High School. We're continuing our series on surviving high school. Last week we talked about school life and all the aspects to do with that. But today we're talking about social life, the relationship between parents, teachers, and students, and finding their identity. Let's get that conversation started, but first, let's meet our panel. Jane Muthoni Oko is a governance and education rights advocacy specialist. She heads the Elimu Yetu Coalition, which represents the national civil society education movement in Kenya. Julie Githiri Goko is a qualified psychodynamic psychotherapist with over 15 years of experience as a psychiatric nurse and as a specialist community practitioner specializing in sexual health. Dr. Eda Tatu is a medical doctor specializing in ophthalmology, a counselor, and a certified recovery coach, and has a special place in her heart for the youth. Joanne Muoti is the principal of State House Girls High School and is passionate about seeing each girl who comes through the school excel in her future endeavors. Mercy Mueni is a counseling psychologist and trainer, as well as the director of Blissful Mind Counselors. She has over 5 years' experience in counseling, training, and life coaching. Hashtag Victoria's Lounge is how you can chime into the conversation on social media. We're continuing this conversation, this time looking at the social angle. High school, boarding school, a lot of times is academics. So you have books, class, exams, social life. Books, class, exams, social life. It's very, very limited in terms of how you have social interactions. And we want to get a real sense of what it's like for you at this time in your lives. What interests you? What worries you the most at this point in your life? Start with you.
What I love about this school is that we have many people from different areas. We have Ethiopians, Eritreans, and even Somalians. And I've gotten to interact with many of them, and it has really helped me to understand their way of life, their culture, and appreciate them for who they are and how they go about their activities. And I think this school is really good because it has provided that platform for that.
As a Form 1, you're coming from a different place, different background, and you meet different people. Therefore, you get to experience a lot, and you learn different things from different people, and you also grow up with a different character than that you used to have. You have your teachers, you have your friends who are going to help you. In State House, you're having functions, you go to different places, and you are able to expand your mind because of what you have learned. So it helps you, and it helps you to grow mentally and also spiritually. You have prayers and you have different things, and also you get to express yourself according to what you have learned. And it's not all about how I speak and what I speak, but it's all about what is in me.
I'd like to hear more about some of the expectations from your peers. Now we're moving more into the direction of identity. When we were speaking to some of the girls, they talked about body image issues, some girls not having a certain body type, not feeling like they're beautiful enough, not being in the squad or the cliques a lot of times, so you're feeling left out. What are some of the real social issues, the pressures that you're going through at this time?
What I can say about social interactions and how someone feels about not appreciating themselves, it starts from within. It is a question of self-esteem. Some people feel like they're not really wanted when it is actually what you pass on to others. And what you expect people to see you as is what people don't really see you as. And another thing I will say on the social life is something that I've experienced since I joined. I've been having I can call it a problem or a challenge in bedwetting. It's about time that it is spoken of in many schools. It really affects many people. And in the same way, I can compare it to those people in areas where they don't really receive sanitary towels. It's the same way I'd like many people to know that bedwetting isn't really something easy to cope with. It is something really difficult. Apart from being a condition, it is something that you just tell your mind so that you can stay at rest. You see it according to how other people see it, but really it is a challenge to you.
So being affected by something that you can't necessarily control, but it's brought on by the pressures that are put on you, or even perceptions that you have of yourself that maybe even your parents, your friends don't, but you feel they expect so much of me, and then you put unnecessary pressure on yourself. Thanks for being honest about your experiences. Julie, I want to bring you in there because a lot of the girls, again, we're talking about this whole thing of identity. They don't know who they are. They want to fit in with the cool crowd, if you will. They have no idea how to do that. But how can they begin that journey of accepting themselves, really? That's what it needs to come down to.
We need to even realize that this is a completely different generation. The way we even talk, even as you talk about Victoria Lounge, we're on hashtag. This is the hashtag generation. So the way we're even communicating with our peers is you've got to notice me, see me. And before you even want them to see you, you put on a persona of who you are. So it's very hard to be true and authentic because that authentic self may not necessarily be cool. But how do you get to a place where you're comfortable with who you are and being able to communicate that authentic self to others and be accepted? It's a real challenge because in the media we're seeing what's out there and we perceive that to be cool we have to look and behave and have friends who are a certain way. Dealing with pressures can lead to those kind of physiological changes, some kind of medical condition, because we're finding a different way to cope. And if we don't have those outlets to communicate those anxieties, this is when these challenges are brought upon us.
Yeah, I'd like to get a take from the girls in terms of seeking validation. It's something that's still very real and important. You want to be accepted by your friends and your peers. I mean, there's no way to get around that. I remember in high school, that was my #1 priority beyond performing well in school. I wanted to be accepted. So I want to hear from the girls, a lot of times that pressure, the peer pressure, and also seeking validation. Where do you get it from?
High school is a place where those innate skeletons are let off a closet within you. Where you come as a whole, you come thinking you have discovered yourself, you come thinking you know who you are. Other people come not even knowing who they are. So once you come to high school, you meet people, you meet different things, you come across different situations that could either change you or make you. For those who think they know themselves, they may forget themselves or stick to who they are. For those who have not discovered themselves yet, they may discover themselves or get influenced by others to think they have discovered themselves. A situation where people come and forget themselves. You come as a really nice girl, focused, you're now in high school, you need to get straight A's, then you come and meet a friend who tells you, let's do this and that, then you end up doing it, you get into trouble the first time, the second time, you do it, you get into more trouble, then it becomes a norm. So you come maybe with your goals, at some point in your high school life, you forget them, it ruins you totally. Later on, you may want to come back to your good self, then you struggle trying to catch up from where you left. You try dropping off those friends you had, try going for the good girls in school. Sometimes you even think, it's all gone. You go back to your old clique and all that. Now for those who knew who they were before they came to high school, they come, they find situations, they find new friends, but it doesn't change them from who they are. Some of them really had goals that would take them places, and they still have them up to now. You ask around, people still have dreams of going to universities outside Africa. Some of them still have dreams of doing things that are unimaginable for other people. And it's a really good thing for those who are able to stay who they are.
When you know who you are, you become peculiar, you become yourself, you become like, it's me, it's my world. But what happens is that, I've come like, I'm the girl, I'm going to control my world. But you see the influences with the peer pressure, it becomes sad. But if you have focus, you are determined, you can be able to reach your goals. An example of our own principal, she told us she was the first girl to go to university in her location. That shows that if you're a girl and you are determined and you know, yes, I have to achieve this because I was brought here to achieve this, there is no way that you're going to back down. Although there are very many dangers, there are very many like forces against you, like you want to go this way and then you feel like I can't go this way because of my friends. So I say if you just stay firm and you know who you are, people are going to recognize you. You don't have to be on the wrong side for people to recognize you.
Okay. Mercy, I want to bring you in because one of the students said this is a time where you either make or break your social career, if you will. That is a lot of pressure. What should be happening at this point?
Exactly what is identity crisis? Because I know we hear that question that word very many times. Simply, it is when you have, you are not able to have a cohesion of how you are feeling, what you are thinking, and what you are doing versus your role. Okay? What are you supposed to be doing at this particular time? So who are you at 16 years? You are not just Evelyn Modoni. You are not just Nancy Moeni. No. You are an adolescent, a girl who is going through a lot of changes that we can only see them physically. But I believe most of the doctors here will agree with me. These changes are not just happening by the broadening or the enlargement of your breast. No. Something else is happening inside you. There is an activity happening in your brain. The brain is releasing so many hormones to give you that beautiful face, to give you those endless pimples, right? Which really crashes on our identity because body image is part of our identity. And so you start having distorted self-body image. And you start hating yourself. And you're starting to think, I want to run the fastest route possible. Then self-image. How are you feeling about yourself? I like the girl who talked about bedwetting. Self-image is all about how you're feeling about yourself. Are you feeling like, oh, I'm this bedwetter? You just walk and your head is always down. You can't keep eye contact. You can't raise your hand in class to answer a question because people will start giggling and saying, oh, the bedwetter has an answer. Why doesn't she have an answer to her bedwetting? So self-image, it distorts your self-concept. It distorts your image.
That's a really good point to kind of hold the conversation because when we come back, we want to talk about the issue of parents and the students. That relationship is so critical, and even when it comes to knowing who you are, how about the person who brought you into this world? Let's talk about that relationship and how critical and crucial it is at this time. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. You're watching Victoria's Lounge. We're talking about surviving high school, now in the different aspects, not just on the school property. We want to talk about the parent-child relationship. A lot has come out in terms of different parenting styles, kids who have different personalities and how to deal with that, them trying to figure out themselves. So let's listen to the children.
Our parents make a lot of impact on who we are and our high school life. Like personally, my mother, she's very understanding. She knows how I am. Like I'm this talkative girl, social, and at times who I am makes me get into trouble with teachers and everyone and everything in school. When you get to high school, you realize how much your parents love you. You realize how much they care, because I thought if the one time my mother could be called in school because I've done this and this, she will be really angry or even wanting to beat me up in school, but that's not the case. They understand you, but if you're open to them, if you tell them this is what I do, this is how I operate in school, they will understand you and probably take your side, because you're not always wrong as people around you may take you.
My mom is very understanding. She encourages me in every aspect of life. She doesn't care on worrying about telling me some things, like some parents worry about telling their children about sex. She doesn't worry about that because she knows that I'm a responsible daughter. She tells me everything. She advises me about school. She's open to me in every aspect of life. I love her so much, and she has a lot of courage. And with her previous life, when she was in high school, she uses it to teach me about my life because she knows she's my mother. So I took some characters of hers from what she used to do. So she advises me to be much more of a better child than the way she was to her parents. And I really appreciate her. And I love you so much, Mom. I know she's watching.
That's wonderful. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for sharing. And she brought up an interesting point of her mom changed her parenting from how she was parented. And saw the need to change and shift to accommodate her because it's a different generation. Before I engage the parents, I want to kind of read out a list. Some of them said comparison to older siblings. A lot of times they don't live up to what their older siblings have done. Trust and feeling misunderstood by their parents. Can't open up to their parents either. Not allowing your child to pursue their passion. So putting pressure on academics, extracurricular, out of the question. Another one is high expectations to perform well. And the last one is boys. Interaction with the opposite sex and how that should be managed or if at all even happen. So let me engage the parents now.
So one of the things that I'm learning as a young parent is I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't make it. So when I got my daughter, I knew I had a doctor in her. She started school and you can bet she didn't do well in her sciences. So I've learned with time that they have their own identity. They can be whatever they want to be. So now my daughter wants to pursue something in the hotel industry and I have chosen to support her because if I don't, I'll frustrate her. I will turn her into something that I don't even want to imagine. But the thing about boys is interesting for me because I got my children when I was very young. And this is what we tell our girls. Don't talk to that boy. Don't look. I want you send them to the shop and if they are not back in 5 minutes, what were you doing? I take 2 minutes to go to that shop. And I think we need to change how we treat our children, not just girls, even the boys. We need to understand that they're growing, they feel attractive. We just need to explain to them that it's okay to be liked, it's okay to like, but you need to have some moderation because you can be liked, but with no education. Right. Or you can pursue your education and have no friends. So we need to be the parents that stand into the gap for our children and help them realize that there's a social life, there's academic, there's also the spiritual aspect because most of us think spiritual is going to church on Sunday. Spiritual is teaching your children how to learn about God in everything that they go through. Because when you're not there with them in school, they can say a prayer for themselves. So it's good that we sit and we listen to our children, listening, and appreciating them for who we are. And my last advice to parents, not all girls or boys will get A's, but the grade that will get, that is your child. Support them, love them, and let them find themselves within the context that they can be able to be successful in life.
As parents, we need to be able to actually know our children from when they're tiny. I've got a daughter who's going to be 19 years old, and from when she was very, very little, she loved to sing. And I saw that and have really nurtured that to date. And what she does want to do is to just sing. Many parents are very focused on wanting our children to be academic. The doctors, teachers. They don't have to be doctors. What they are made of they can be as creative as they need to be. Let's nurture that. Let's bring it out of them and let them become the best that they can ever be with what they have, with what God has given them.
One thing I have learned as a father is that I don't raise him to be a child. I'm raising him to be a father. Wow. And so I respect him, I respect his opinions. I may disagree with him in so many things, but I respect what he says. He is informed too. And then informed too, that is when all the other girls are looking at him, and even in the church, I'm a minister of the gospel, so even in the church, the girls are all around him. And what have I done? I have allowed him to interact with the girls, to let him know that they are welcome to come to our home. and that he is welcome to visit them as long as I know where he is visiting. This openness has helped me to relate with him, tell him the dangers of these relationships, talk about sex. We discuss sex issues very openly, no holds barred. We talk about the parameters. We talk about when it should be done, and about this time when you're in school, that is not even when the time to think about when should I have sex, but it's real, it's around us, so we go over this together.
Wow, thank you. I think we need to nominate Minister for Father of the Year. Really great points coming out of that. And from all the parents, the common thread I was hearing is opening up those channels of communication, building the trust, and probably the most difficult, being vulnerable with them and showing them I'm not perfect. Hey, I made the same mistakes. Nothing is new under the sun. We've been through the same struggles and issues. On that note, let's take a short break here in Victoria's Lounge. We'll be back continuing the conversation now of teachers and students and peer-to-peer relationships here in the school. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. You're watching Victoria's Lounge, still on this conversation about surviving high school. So back to the school, we dealt with the home, the parents and the child relationship. Now with the students and teachers. And again, yesterday when we talked to some of the girls, several issues came up. And one of them was favoritism by teachers, teacher's pet. I think everyone has gone through that phase. Another was once you've made a mistake, you are labeled a rebellious child throughout your school career. Dismissed because of your age. So as much as they respect their teachers, they'd want respect back. I know that's a tough one because this generation really is demanding a lot of interaction and engagement from their elders and the authorities. But let's listen to some of the girls before we engage our panel and the teachers as well.
Personally, my relationship with the teachers has been quite hard because of the way I am. Usually when I'm at home, I'm able to express myself well with facial expressions and the way I talk. But in school, some teachers take me as a rude person. So that's kind of hard because I can't really be myself in school. I have to act like I'm happy all the time. And whenever a teacher sees me, they keep on telling me, "Wacha kuvuta mdomo." And that's not really what I was doing. I was just trying to express myself. Sometimes in this school, some teachers may, whenever you make a mistake and you go in front of the disciplinary committee, from that day, every teacher just sees you as that girl who went to the disciplinary. But some teachers change their perspective, while other teachers just have the same perspective all through. Whenever they see you, even when you're coming from the hostel, they just tell you, "Wewe, what are you doing?" And you aren't doing anything wrong. They just always want you to be on the wrong.
Let me get the teachers in on this. You've heard some of the claims lodged against you. So we'd like to hear from you.
I'd like to talk to the parents again and say, parents, you have the best investment ever on earth in a child. The only challenge that we have as parents is fear. And having been with these children for over 20 years, I think one thing is clear, there is no fear really in parenting. If we don't know something, we can research. With every investment that there is, the way we are working so hard to make money for our companies, we invest, we employ people to come and do what, strategic management, planning and everything. I think the same applied on the students will still work. We teachers are just simple human beings like your parents. We have emotions. So if we only learn to balance with each other, knowing that even as I come to your class, like I sometimes tell the classes, you may not know what happened last night in my house. Maybe my child fell sick at night. I did not sleep. I came to class the first lesson. You have not done my assignment. Honestly, for me to keep smiling would be a lie. And we have agreed that we need to be real with each other. So if we can start from the place of understanding that, number one, we have emotions. Secondly, just like students are, we have different personalities. We all need to be respected. So if we can maintain that, I think we'll go a long way. But I still want to stress, as a teacher, as a parent, these children are the best investment we can have.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ogweno. And I'd like to bring Principal Joanne in on this because we had this conversation earlier and I brought some of these claims to you after we talked to the girls and you were literally shocked thinking, where is this coming from? Because, you know, you say we give them a platform, we have assemblies, we have different events and activities for them where they should be open, but they don't bring out a lot of these issues to you. So how as a school are you looking at kind of getting around that challenge and engaging them a bit more so you understand what's really happening under all of the activities and things that they are expected to do here at the school?
My advice to the girls is this: learn to take opportunity. Don't sit and wait to be called to talk to anybody about your issues. It's not that we are punishing you or we are withdrawing you from some issues because we hate you. We are doing that to correct you because as teachers also, we will be judged, isn't it? If you go through our hands, remember throughout your life, wherever you will go, you will be judged by me. Ati huyu alitoka State House Girls ako aje huyu? Ni kwa nini ako vipi? Ningependa ukitoka kwangu, kwa mkono yangu, mtu anasema na huyu alisomea wapi? Because you will be special. You will be identified with your character. Like somebody said, mwalimu anamwambia kwa nini unafuruta mdomo? You know, you are with me 4 years, and if I don't correct that issue of etiquette, the way you walk, the way you stand, it will be an issue outside there. Ulitoka State House na bado unafuruta mdomo. So you don't just release a brand outside there. You have to trim your brand. It has to stand out. So forgive us when we are doing that, but we have to do it. And I want to say this to parents: don't panic whenever you see your girls interacting with boys. Girls who interact with the boys, they come out stronger. It is your duty to only guide them. So to parents, listen to them, guide them, just give them the proper guidance so that they are able to survive at every step of their lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Principal Joanne. I'd just like to get closing remarks from my remaining panelists, and Dr. Etta also had a parting shot. I'll begin with Janet.
I've just been realizing the way the girls applaud some presenters and not others, you know. And more especially when somebody said, you don't have to be doctors. At the end of it, everyone was all clapped. And then there was the father who said the way he gives the boys some, you know, allowance so the girls can be, and they really, really clapped. And now the parting shot by the head of the school. So, and all that, you realize they want some flexibility, you know, some allowance, you know, and they want to be told that everything they are thinking is not wrong. And I'd also pray, because the girls are saying they want to be understood more. How I wish they would also understand the struggles of the parents. Because as the principal rightly said, no one is likely to stop working. You know, probably your parents don't have the jobs they would want to have to support you in the manner that they would. Probably all those struggles are because they would want to keep you in this school, you know. And finally, girls, you have an opportunity like this one. There are so many girls your age going through the difficulties that you are going through, but they're not in such a facility. They're probably even struggling to access secondary school, for example. So you have an opportunity in your hands. Do the best you can do with it.
Thank you so much, Julie.
What I would like to add is we're looking at the school and the students from a very positive perspective, which is well and good. But what happens when things go wrong? It's to remember that not everything will go the way you want it to. And when things do go wrong and you do feel low, you do feel depressed, you do feel anxious, you do feel lonely, all of those things you don't need to tackle on your own, okay? Those are the times when you go and you seek out a teacher, you seek out your parent, because those are the people who safeguard your well-being, because you're not at an age to do that on your own. So it's knowing that there are people who have been through difficult challenges before you and are there to support you through your own, because definitely those challenges will be there, but it's how you manage them and build the coping mechanisms that will support you.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Julie. And to you, Mercy.
I want to introduce the issue of mental health awareness, because many of our girls and boys, they suffer in silence. Many of them, they go through depression, because if I can go through depression, as an adult. Sure, my daughter can also go through depression. Let's not ignore mental health. They could be developing a mood disorder, which is very common at teenage, during adolescent stage. These girls could be going through a depressive episode, which is very normal for any human being to be stressed, because we live in a society full of demands. And some of the times we cannot meet those demands, and so we feel like we are losing hope. We feel helpless. So let's not ignore. Before everything else, right now it doesn't even feel like in the list like you are a daughter. It feels like you are a student. Student comes number, that is your role. Don't forget what role you are playing in the society today. Even as you walk out of this gate, remember you are a student. When you are in your house, you are a student. When you go to church, you are a student. When you're in the streets of Nairobi, who are you? A student. Behave, think, feel, and act as a student, and your life will be much easier.
And to the parting shot from Dr. Eda, really quickly as we wrap up, she has a message from one of the grandparents. She was one of the counselors who helped during the time of the Moi Girls fire, helping the girls process what happened in their school. Dr. Eda, please.
One of the students who passed on was called Mary Jengo. I happened to have been walking with the family through the very traumatic event of the passing of their daughter. And the grandmother is called Jessica, or Mama Saimo. And I told her about how we want to start parenting seminars, because obviously the girl who burnt the school was a very troubled person. And she wanted to say that she has forgiven the girl who burnt the school that led to the death of her grandchild. And if it had been her, if she had heard that the child was suicidal, she would have invited her into her home to find out what was disturbing her, and this would have never happened. So that was one message of forgiveness. 1 Corinthians 13, 1-13. That is her favorite Bible verse, and it's also mine, the passage on love. And where it says love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy, love is not proud, love does not seek for itself, it is not provoked by anger, it devises no evil, it does not rejoice in evil, it rejoices in the truth, it suffers all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. So let us love our children unconditionally, and we will prevent all these tragedies. Thank you very much.
On this week's Victoria's Lounge Story Series, brought to you by Nivea, meet Judith Owigar, a social entrepreneur and co-founder of Akira Chicks, an initiative that helps train and support young women in developing technological solutions. It's what landed her in the Power Sandwich at the 2015 GES Summit. She has now embarked on running Juakali, an app that connects informal sector workers with jobs.
I'm 30-something years old. I grew up in Nairobi. I went to public school, both for primary, secondary, and university, and I studied computer science. That's where I realized there are very few women who are taking up computer science or even just careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. I got together with my friends and we started this organization called Akira Chicks. It was really about increasing the pipeline of women who are entering the field of technology or who are using technology in wherever they are working. And that's really how I met the two presidents, Barack Obama and Uhuru Kenyatta. On a personal level, it gave me validation, great validation, you know. It's like, this is our reference, you know. Juakali is an online platform that I'm building that is linking young people to jobs in the informal sector. So these are painters, plumbers, cleaners, electricians. So while I was actually working on Akira Chicks, I had this idea for building an online platform for workers in the informal sector. I'm gonna do it. Now I'm gonna do it. And you know, now when I want to use my skills in technology coupled with the skills that young people have in the informal sector and see if there's a way we can create a system of credibility, of reference, such that they can get more jobs, they can earn a better living, they can demand for better wages, and you know, ultimately just improve their lives, their families' lives. Leaving Akira Chicks, I battled with it a long time. because it's something that I had built. It was really my baby, you know, and I was very invested in it, and I actually felt guilty for leaving something that I had started. It's been successful. The risk that something else that I'm starting will not be successful, the risk of failing, you know. I read somewhere that if you're not failing, then you're not challenging yourself. Because when you succeed, you know, you're just like, oh my, I'm awesome, you know. But when you fail is the moment where you stop and interrogate yourself and you're like, wait, can we just have a moment and think about what has happened? You're like, how did I get here? It has really taught me to stop and reflect and to learn and to be humble. If you want to succeed at anything, one, it definitely takes hard work and it takes persistence. And then just start where you are with what you have and then learn as you go. There's no one way to do it. Yeah, that's, I think, one of the best lessons I learned in life. You find a system that works for you and you build towards it. I think that's a woman who knows herself, accepts herself, believes in herself, and loves herself. Yeah.
And we're done. Thanks, Judith. To all the students, thank you so much for your honesty, your insights. To the teachers, to the parents, to the mentors, to my panelists, thank you so much. This is a conversation we can't afford to stop right here when the cameras go off and we all go home or to our different activities. We need to continue it in our homes, in our schools, in our churches, in our mosques, anywhere we are. We need to continue interacting with each other, building that trust, being open and vulnerable and honest with each other about our struggles, and most importantly, making sure that love is the driving force of why we interact with others. Thank you so much. We have to keep this conversation going. High school is not easy, but you'll make it. You'll survive, you'll succeed, you will excel. This is not the end of your life or your career, socially, emotionally, spiritually, or academically. You're just beginning. You're just beginning. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much to State House Girls High School for hosting us and this wonderful conversation. I hope it inspired you to keep having that conversation, whether you're a child with your parent and your teacher, or whether you're a parent with your child, and also the teachers who interact with your children. Boys, we're coming to you. We know we focused a lot on the girl child in this particular show, but we're coming to the boys because we know you too have your own issues and you want to be heard in this conversation. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful evening, and let's do this again next week.